Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Wexner Center, and welcome to the second full day of Cartoon Crossroads Columbus. This is the 10th CXC. It's so exciting. I was just talking with one of the founders, Lucy Caswell. It's so exciting to see people still coming in droves 10 years later. So we're all really proud of that. This afternoon's guest, Kate Beaton, was also at the first CXC back in, what year would that be, 2014? 10 years ago? Bad at math, but yeah, so we're coming full circle a little bit. Before we begin, I just wanted to highlight some of the partners that go into this. The WEX is really proud to be one of the original CXC partners and participating venues. CXC is a true community collaboration. There's so many venues across town that participate. This year's partners include the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum, the Laughing Ogre, OSU's Pop Culture Studies Program, East Asian Studies and Japanese Studies, the Gateway Film Center, the Columbus Museum of Art, CCAD, and the Columbus Main Library. The festival moves downtown on Friday and Saturday with a whole slew of events, and I invite everyone to either visit cartooncrossroadcolumbus.org or pick out one of these really handy schedules that are in the back of the theater to see what's going on downtown on Friday and Saturday. I feel like this is off script a little bit. If you think you see water dripping kind of behind me, it's not. You're not imagining things, so I'm telling everyone ahead of time so you don't think you're crazy and get distracted by it during the talk. It's Peter Eisenman's gift that never stops giving. But now to introduce this afternoon's special guest, Kate Beaton, it's my pleasure to introduce Irene Velentzas, comics editor and comics critic, who will be interviewing Kate on stage. Irene?
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Cartoon Crossroads Columbus 10th Anniversary Opening Keynote with Kate Beaton. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to my fellow Canadian. In Canada, we're proud of many things. Our many Ryans, including Reynolds and Gosling, our Canadian whiskey, and our cartoonists, which we proudly put on our postage stamps. Hailing from the small island town of Mabu, Kate Beaton is internationally renowned for her singular point of view, dry wit, comedic timing, and unique interpretation of ponies. Kate's punchy Hark of Vagrant comics earned her multiple Doug Wright Awards, Harvey Awards, and an Ignatz Award, while her follow-up collection, Step Aside Pops, earned Kate the 2016 Eisner Award for Best Humor Publication. Following her decade-long domination of the comic strip, Kate turned her creative talents towards children's books, where her award-winning The Princess and the Pony later became the award-winning children's animated series Pinecone and Pony. In 2023, following the critical acclaim of her graphic memoir Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands, Kate likely needed to build a new shelf to hold the dozens of accolades she earned, including Eisner Award for both Best Graphic Memoir and Best Writer Artist, as well as the first ever graphic novel to win the CBC Canada Reads Best Book Award. Here to read us an excerpt from Ducks, please help me welcome the incomparable Kate Beaton.
Can I use this one so I can see it better, maybe? Okay, all right, thanks everybody. Hi. First of all, I want to say a little story. I'm soaking wet, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm here with my 5-year-old daughter, Mary, who is maybe in this room or maybe outside playing with the great volunteers who are early childhood educators. Anyway, we were very wet and had to go to Target to get a new shirt. And so I ran in here with her, and we looked awful and like wet cats, and I was like, we have to go to the bathroom right now and get your clothes changed because this thing is about to start. So we did, and we were in the washroom stall, and I was trying to like organize her change of clothes, and then we came out, and there was a bunch of men washing their hands at the sink. And it's like, oh my God, is this the men's room? And they were like, we wondered what was going on in that stall. So I'm sorry to anybody who felt really weird about that, but thank you for being so cool about it. And yes, it is great to be back here. After being here 10 years ago at the first one, which I got to see the Billy Iron Library, it was a really amazing time. And now I'm back with this gigantic book. So I guess we'll start reading a bit. Okay. Oh yeah, I have the clicker. I'm the one with the clicker. So cool. Look at that. Yes. Okay. So this is, if you haven't read the book or have, this is a chapter that takes place in Aurora, which is a mine site north of Syncrude, which is one of the bigger mine companies there in Fort McMurray. You guys are all super familiar with the layout of Fort McMurray, I understand. There, I worked with a lot of Newfoundland mechanics in this particular place, and that's why the accents might be a little funny in places. Oh, we went to the Science Museum with the dinosaurs. Sorry, I never took that off. So cool. And then we were so late and so wet. Okay, so that's me, the littler one. Wow, wow, wow. Carmen, they're monsters, right? Big, enormous heavy hauler truck. The girl who was before me back at Base Mine left to drive one. Heck yeah, girl, good money. Welcome to the heavy duty shop. This is how big the trucks were. Oh, there we go. I have to point it up there. They were like the size of a house. You had to walk upstairs to get to the driver's thing. Anyway, boys, Mrs. here from Carmen's crib will be with us on shutdowns. We're here to ferry her to the mobile units before and after shifts. Well, fill your boots. I'm Brent. This here's Tyler. This Chuck, the baby. I calls him the baby, Shane. And you met the old feller, Ambrose. Yes, ba. Hi, I'm Katie. Are you all from Newfoundland? Honey, what do you think? You with Jody tonight? Yeah. They say I'm either going to be with Carmen in the heavy-duty crib or with Jody on shutdowns. Well, I think we can handle that. What's a shutdown, Ambrose? Here we are. Where do I go? The answer is one of those sea cans that are like backs of trucks that's been converted into a tool crib. A shutdown is an extra shift beyond working hours. You guys all know this. Where you make more money. You make time and a half. So, but it's usually during like the night and stuff. It's my son. Ring, ring, ring. Mind if I get this? I don't know what her ringtone was. That was in the days of ringtones when you could pay for one and it would, a little jingle. No, I'll just keep polishing these turds. What's this book you're reading? Oh, did I tell you I went on a date last night? How was that? It was okay. I think he was a sleaze, though. It's hard to tell. No, that's easy, Jody. Did he have a curly mustache? How often did he twiddle it? Ah, you're funny. You are. Anyone tell you that? I'm sorry it was a bad date. Nah. What about you, young miss? Anyone twiddled you lately? No, Jody. Ugh. Ah, put the pearls down. You got to live it up at your age. Oh, dear. Back at Base Mine, they used to try and set me up. So don't you do me any favors now. Jody was like 40, and I was like, she's so old. I'm 41. She was in her 40s. I hear you, hun. Not everybody, but everyone needs somebody. It's not the cold or the dark that will get you here. It's the loneliness. Believe me. She was divorced. Anyway, it's easy for you. What are you, 20? 22. Time to be frisky. Frisky? Oh, you're killing me. You're evil. Ha. House, truck, bike, skidoo. Nah, Brentpa. Skidoo than bike. More snow up here. I never seen anyone on a bike here. They're not talking about bicycles. Buddy here skidoos to work, even up the frozen river. You do not.
Safer than the highway, isn't it? How many accidents so far this year? So, you getting a bike or what? Yeah, in the spring. We should find some trails. That'd be deadly. Shh. These young ones spending their money like fools. That's not true now. I works hard for my pay. Jesus, gotta enjoy life a bit too. Wife's got the house she wants. House is too big. Brand new trucks, piles of toys. You're only digging a hole. Ha. Yeah, a hole that's full of oil for 100 more years. The Grand Banks were full too. Jumping down, Jesus, by was on a dory, is it? The Grand fucking Banks, is it? All I'm saying is, you only know it's the good times, don't you? Let me tell you, my son, that don't last. You can't make it. It's not up to you. Ambrose, were you a fisherman before? I'm still a fisherman. I'm just here. So what you might not know about is that in 1992, they shut down the cod fishery in Newfoundland, and it was the largest layoff in Canadian history. 40,000 people lost their job overnight. And it was that was the major part of the economy in the province. So the whole province of Newfoundland, which is the easternmost province in Canada, was in dire straits. And a lot of these people ended up going out to Fort McMurray. They were there when I was there in 2005. And they either were in two camps. The older people who had gone through the moratorium and the layoffs and the joblessness and the sort of desperation, and the younger fellows who came of age around the same time as me and went there immediately and started making six figures. And there was a vast difference in how they thought to spend their money. The people who would start making it right away would spend because it seemed like the money was never ending, because that's the way it is in a boom time and with young people and with poor people who have never had money before. And the older people were more wary. Where's Miss Perky been lately? Who? The little one, not the cougar. Oh. Carmen's on her days off. She's skiing with her boyfriend somewhere. Huh. A lot of guys been with her, you know. What? Carmen? She has a boyfriend. Doesn't matter. She gets around. Get the fuck out of here. Carmen, you only want that to be true. It is. What do you want? Then get out of here. You think women are gossips? No, men are the biggest gossip. I've got vacation photos. Do you want to see? Hi, Carmen, sure. That's the hotel. And there's my honey. Oh, yeah? He's cute. Oh, I think he's just gorgeous. I love him to bits. Just waiting on that ring, girl. There's that guy. Stink eyes. Found this in the Newfoundland aisle at the store. We're back with the mechanics. Pickled herring. It ain't bad. It ain't the same as home, but it ain't bad. Tyler closed it. I hates that stuff. What's the matter with ya? It stinks. They had bottle moose there or anything? You can buy bottled moose in Newfoundland. Moose? Oh, yeah, you gotta have a freezer full back home. The baby's a hunter, is he? Me and my dad would in the fall. Nothing wrong with that. What about you? What was it like hunting dinosaurs? You're funny, boy. Ambrose shot that T-Rex they dug up here. It wasn't a T-Rex, you idiot. A T-Rex? Well, it was a dinosaur. That was the joke. Good one. It was an ichthyosaur. A what? A fish. Well, how many dinosaurs do I know? Like 5? You ought to have a little fella. He'd straighten you out on that right away. This your son? He'll be 7 this year. He was wild about dinosaurs. Boom, boom, boom. We're on the bus now, the bus to work. It's about a 40-minute drive from town where I was renting a place to site. No, this is later on. It's even further north. It's like an hour. Swerve. I'm such a good artist that you can tell that it's a snowy day with kind of drizzle and that the road conditions are dangerous. And thank God this is not confusing for anybody. The car in front of us is swerving and dumps off the road into the ditch, upside down. What? And I'm shocked. You behind me, Eddie? You'll catch that last one? No, you call it in this time. Okay, then. It was so normal to see these cars off the road to and from work, and you'd see a car and then drive along, and there'd be 2 other cars because people were rubbernecking when they drove by, and then they'd go in the ditch. But 2008, which is one of the years I was there, was one of the highest rates for mortality on this Highway 63 that went between Fort McMurray and Edmonton. And you just kept hearing about it. So it's a strange thing to think this is commonplace, but it was. Pray for me, I drive on 63. That was a protest that was going on for them to twin the highway. And then one guy bought us drinks, and he was half our age. Oh, Jody, I've been to the Oil Can. It's quite a place. It's a bar called the Oil Can, and use your imagination. Hey, what's with the guys at the bars who wear their site ID tags, like on a lanyard around their necks? Oh, they think women won't talk to them without knowing they make big money. They think we're all gold diggers, and they're mad about it. But they're the ones advertising for gold diggers. I don't know, hon. It's just Fort Mac. Ugh. How's your son? Oh, he's good. He's in Calgary. Calgary's the bigger city in Alberta. What does he do? Yeah, he's in between things. Went to school for a bit. It wasn't for him. He's always like, Mom, figure it out. And he will. Now I'm getting picked up at the end of the shift. Just the Cub tonight? No Cougar? Shut up with that, Tyler. Shit. Jeez. Kicking the back of his seat. Some contrary tonight or what? Don't call her that. Ambrose. Jody has 2 kids. Did you know that? They live in Calgary. They live in condos, and she pays the rent for both of them, and they don't do fuck all. That's no concern of yours, though, is it? And they only call her for money? Yes, it is. Because at 4 a.m. at -50, I'm in there with her, and she doesn't live in any condo, and it's not right. It's not my place, but no, my ducky, it's not. One day maybe you'll have kids, and you'll understand what Jody is doing. Ugh, fuck. All set. Here's the Oil Can. Next to Diggers, I would say Diggers was like the exotic dance sort of place, but anyway, and Oil Can Tavern. Yep. I can't believe I'm going to the Oil Can with you guys. And Jody and her friends loved going there because, I don't know, there was like a shortage of choices. Oh, get over it. It's a team-building exercise. Jody, have you met Rosie? She's on shutdown as well. No, well, we haven't worked together yet. Hi. I'll get us a table. We'll handle the bar. Wink. So, this guy, like the eyeballs following. So, how do you like the job? Well, Jody's a riot at least. Ha. Whoa, girl. What are you having? Get me one. It's a drink with an umbrella in it. Anything to erase the night I had last weekend. I went to this party on the weekend. I haven't been to a party in so long. No, you don't want to go to this party. I got asked on a date. I thought, what the hell? But then I get there, and it's wall to wall. Guys with their mail order brides. Huh? What? I don't know where they were all from, and they don't have much English. All I know is I was there to help welcome them because these guys thought I was one. Because I'm from Indonesia, I honestly don't know what the fuck to say. Jesus. Are there a lot of guys out here with foreign brides? Ugh, like Calvin Langtry and his Filipino teenager? Huh? Who? Oh, he's always going on and on about he's treated like a king when he visits there. I knew a lot of these guys. They sucked. They're just so grateful for everything. Ugh, gross. Honey, you asked. That's enough of this. I want to dance. They're like, they love seeing me come. And you're like, anyways, we're back at work now. Here we are. See, and so this is the coldest time of winter when I'm working here, and it is about -50 out, and so cold that like if you breathe in, your nostrils stick together, it hurts the back of your throat. You can't turn these trucks off. They run 24 hours a day. Because if you shut it off, it will never come back on again in the cold. And or if you do have to turn it off, you have to plug it in. And so hopefully that gives context to what we're seeing here because the ground it's completely frozen. See the frozen ground ripple when the haulers go by. Yeah, I do. Even though the ground was frozen, these trucks were so huge that the ground would go brrr when they went over it. Look at this fool. If you're ever driving, you stay well behind them here. You can see them, but they can't see you. And that's true. Later on in the book, there is a fatality because one of those trucks ran over a man who was in his regular-sized truck because they didn't see him. Why don't you have a proper winter coat anyway? This is the only one I own. What? You know you make money now, don't you? I did wear a shitty coat like the entire time because I was like, coats are like $80. What? So I'll just freeze in this one. Anyway, here we are at the shutdown, the gigantic excavator. What? They just left those tools lying around? What does it matter? They're supposed to return the tools inside the tool crib, but they're just dumped out by the door in these buckets, and the bitumen is frozen on it, and it will take me all night to clean and process them. We had to degrease all the tools that were full of oil, but when it's out there and it's frozen on, it's like 50 times harder. You'll be here all night anyway. That's not it, Brent. It's just freezing, and they had to be dicks about it. Well, they don't want to be out here in the cold either, do they? So, it's winter. And those are the bathrooms. There were times you would hold it a long time to be like, I'm not going out. But then you would. And it's another cold night tomorrow with temperatures dipping to minus 43 with a nighttime low of... I'm cleaning these fucking tools. And at my feet is the only source of heat in this place, which is a little space heater. Fingers gone. Tiny ass space heater. I would lay on the floor next to it like a little sad baby. Oh God, trying to defreeze myself and then go back outside to get another bucket. Oh, you look up. Oh. And it's the Northern Lights. And I believe that's the end of the reading. That's the, So even in times of very cold, sad things, you have some nice stuff. And the truth is that that part of Alberta is a naturally beautiful place. It's just destroyed by people. So, you know, you get a glimpse of it, and then it would be quite moving.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
In Ducks, you place your individual experiences within this much larger socio-historical context. So I'd like to ask you a little bit about some of the documentary elements you use.
Yep.
For example, Ducks starts with 3 maps. We start with the map of Canada, the map of Nova Scotia, and finally the Alberta oil sands. Why did you decide to start the narrative this way with maps?
Well, I realized that a lot of readers are not going to have like the shorthand for where things are in like rural and far-flung parts of Canada. And somebody opening it from my town would be like, of course, this is where things are. I understand the distance. I understand everything. But if you're just not a part of that culture or a part of that, like if you're not a Canadian or a specific kind of Canadian, you're like, I don't really understand how far these places are away from one another. And then I thought it was important to include the map of Fort McMurray and all the different mine sites because you can see how much activity is going on there at that time. It was a boom time, and there was just no end to like these sites popping up, and there were more and more, all this money, all this investors, all this growth in this place that most people in 2005 did not think about at all, really. So if I didn't put in the map, people might assume there was only 1 or 2 mines instead of a whole bunch of them. And that like the impact that was had there could be limited to like a few jobs or whatever, because at no point do I say that there were 2,500 people in the camp, I think, and that was just one camp, and you just want to give people a proper scale of things. Also, my home is in Nova Scotia on the far end, and Fort McMurray is very northern, in the north part of Alberta, and it's quite a change.
You also have a lot of other documentation like web pages, news articles, books, songs, emails, obituaries, requisitions, comment feeds, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
What role did these other documents play in structuring and sharing your narrative?
Well, they're all real. The only things that were changed were, I think in the obituary, I changed the man's name. And I had to call that man. There was a car crash, and there were two guys from, or there was a guy from Cape Breton, the island that I'm from. And that's in a different part of the book. But I had to find his name and call his brother and say, I'm making this book, I'm changing the name, but I'm putting this in there because I don't think anybody wants to open a book and be like, that's my brother. Or that's me. So I had to call everybody who was in it that I still had contact for and say, I'm making this and you're going to be in it, or there's a composite of you or something like that. And the book is, none of it is made up. Everything is, I don't know, your memory can be faulty and you might remember things like not exactly perfectly, but everything in it is a thing that happened. And so like documenting it sort of in real time in those places with actual emails and actual news sites and actual things, this is 2005 and 2008. And it's all happening, and I don't know. I needed it to be real in that way because everything is totally true.
Mm-hmm. And even though there's all this documentation in Ducks, there are really just some things that can't be documented. And so can you tell us a little bit about using comics to capture those really hard to document experiences?
Yeah. I think that it is somewhat of a natural exercise for cartoonists to think about something and then start dividing it into panels in your mind. At least not for everybody, but it was for me. I would think about these memories and so much. I remember this time in my life clearer than any other time, and then you would start being like panel, panel, panel. I don't know. It seems like there was something cathartic about doing it, to understand it as a story. And comics is the only medium I really have, and it made sense. And you have things that comics do so well, which is like emote and give a sense of place and of being there, which I wanted to give to people. I got rid of other comics that are narrative or whatever, or autobio or nonfiction, even fiction, whatever. They'll have a lot of those text box, right? And I got rid of those in the outset. I didn't want people reading a wall of text. I find it's weird to toggle in and out of the story, be like very involved in what's happening on the page, and then be like, and then this, bubby, bubby, bubba, up in the, like some like narrative voice chatting at you. I wanted people to be fully immersed in it. And that had drawbacks too, because there's a lot of transitions that are choppy and I think hard for people to follow, but that was the choice that I made. And so like you could have turned the page and then it says the next day or like later, and I just didn't do that. But I also didn't do like, I kind of dislike reading comics that are just so super text heavy. I wanted it to be the opposite, and I wanted to be fully inside.
Yeah, to me, it felt very vignette-y, like, just captures of an experience. You were there for so long that it's like just snippets put together.
Yeah, they're just a string of memories that stood out. Mm. And lots that aren't in there, too.
I was really fascinated throughout Ducks how much of the memoir's action actually unfolds silently. And, there's barrages of sexist commentary throughout the book, which are also met by silence. And even the very last panel of the book is silent. So can you tell me about using silence to tell this story specifically?
Yeah, sure. Well, comics is words and pictures together, and neither one is more important. So if there is space between, dialogue or something, there's still things happening. And we're not always talking, especially during like the heavy things in our lives. You're like, call up your depressed friend and they're not like, blah, 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 blah. They're like, yeah, I'm okay. Or whatever. We're just not, continually narrating our own lives. It just unfolds, and quiet moments are a part of it. And sometimes part of like the worst parts.
It's really interesting how you show things like that that can't readily be seen. And one of the things that I felt your book did so brilliantly was show the male gaze.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm wondering how you thought about making something like that visible to readers and having them feel what that feels like.
Yeah, it was a deliberate setup in the comic to put people through that. Because I know that you don't have to work in Fort McMurray to have lived in like a patriarchal society where where you get comments at you depending on who you are, whether they're like gendered or racist or anything like that. And I can only speak to my experience as a young woman in this story, but it was immediate from the beginning that all of this was directed at you, and it took a while to understand it and to handle it, and everything through the eyes of my 22-year-old self. That is what the reader sees, and I thought that was very important, because by the time something bad happens, by the time like this reaches an apex and there's sexual violence, I would hope that the reader would be both hoping it wouldn't happen and worried that it would, because it's something that wore you down, and there used to be more. There was more sexist stuff in the books, but we gave it to some early readers, and they were like, "This is really brutal. We don't like reading so much sexism." And I was like, "Well, how would you like to be there?" But we did have to tone it down and take a few scenes out so that people wouldn't just be like completely fatigued by it, and still get a point across that this was happening all the time. It's not just like one person or whatever. It's a bunch of people in a whole spectrum of comments. And because some of them people would say things and you didn't care, and other people would say stuff that made you feel very unsafe. But it's all part of the same package. And so I would hope that it was informative to people who have never been in that position, because the sympathetic character in the book is the younger version of myself. And then I also hope that it felt validating for other people who have experienced it.
Were there points where you had to reflect from a more experienced place in life on your younger self to be sympathetic to your younger self, to write this book that way?
Oh, yeah. Like, I was very young and naive and also uninformed about a lot of things there. Like, this was a time before, like 2005, people weren't talking about climate change. They weren't talking about, like, the brutal effects and lingering effects of colonialism on indigenous populations. And I took anthropology, and we studied different stuff, different like indigenous subjects, but colonialism almost never came up, which seems insane. But that was that world, and I didn't know things until like afterwards. Like, there are several reserve towns around Fort McMurray and around everything that are severely affected by what the oil sands companies do. They poison them, and at that time, there was no real understanding of it, and I couldn't give myself the knowledge that I have now. I had to keep writing myself as this person who didn't know anything because they were in 2005 and 22 and uninformed. And that was, you're like, oh, I hate that I don't speak up or something like that. But I didn't. It was the truth. Mm-hmm. It's not always nice to look back on yourself.
Yeah, and we don't always have all those pieces together. One of the things about Canada is that it is so big, it's so spread out, you can't possibly know at certain times what's happening everywhere in Canada. And there's 3 kind of main island settings that you focus on. You focus on Cape Breton on the east coast, then we move to the middle, and the oil sands are kind of their own island, and then you go to the complete west coast Vancouver Island. So how did those settings or the island mentality kind of affect this writing?
That's an interesting way to put it. When you are on an island, they do have their own sort of like cultures and things that operate this way within their own parameters. And so Fort McMurray had its set of rules, and Cape Breton has its set of rules, and Victoria had its set of rules. And Victoria was an interesting place to write, because even going there, I was so dazed from having been in these work camps, which they call work camps or man camps. And then you go to Victoria, which is like weird old money and people pretending to be British. They have double-decker buses and high tea and stuff like that. Weird. I know. I could never afford either, so. You're like, gonna go to high tea at the Empress Hotel? And you're like, no, cucumber sandwich? Anyway, but I guess the point was that capitalism, a destructive form of it, existed in all places differently. People like to look at somewhere like Fort McMurray and they're like dirty, gross, bad, hate it, because they're far away and they're from a place that's sort of like cushioned with wealth and a certain set of privilege. But when you're in the privileged place and you see how they treat people who are more poor or addicted or anything like that, or just like other in some way, then you're like, this is brutal everywhere. You know, you can really fool yourself when you're in a place that's nice and pretty and where you have certain comforts, to think that the bad people are somewhere else, but they're not.
It's almost a sanitized self-bias in a way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. We're all like, we're not so bad. They're gross. We're fine.
In Ducks, your coworker Lindsay remarks that other people are so far away from all of this in every sense, in the sense of the day-to-day of the oil sands. But now, so many people have become so much closer to this kind of day-to-day through your book. So what, if any, impact do you feel the public's newfound closeness to these experiences may have had?
I don't know. That is something that sort of remains to be seen. Although I hear from people that it's a book that's used as a text in certain courses and certain corporate thing. No, maybe not corporate, but like worker things. I know when I was making it, this is the power of these corporations. My family was like, "Are you sure you want to make this book? Like, what if the oil companies come after you for making this?" And I was like, in what way? Why would they? I didn't give a shit. I used their names. I was like, it was Shell. I worked for Shell and Albion Sands, and then the book is like doing well, and like it would be such bad PR for them to come in their helicopter and like scoot me up to whatever dungeon. They can't. It is before, like for more recent times, the images that you would get of Fort McMurray were always very mechanized. They were like gigantic trucks and like smoke and like a corporate signal. I mean like whatever, the Shell insignia. What the heck is it? Icons? Logos.
We got there.
Signal. It's like
eventually.
the bat signal. That's what you knew. It was this anything that came out to you from like CBC News or from like the corporations themselves. And if you go to the corporate website, it's like, work for us here at like whatever oil, Syncrude, and it's like a bunch of smiling people, and there's a woman and a black person, and they're all in the hard hats, and they're all smiling, and they're like, it's so diverse and so inclusive and everything, and you're like, oh, I don't know if that's real. Like, those people work there, but are they smiling? You know, they project a certain image, and they were so keen on it. Like, you go to Syncrude and it's like pictures of, like, the Syncrude sign is like carved into a stone thing that is also features buffalo, because they have this big buffalo reclamation thing, which is a total bullshit thing. And you're like, you can't like have something that is the most destructive force on earth and then say that you turned it back into the way you found it, like after you're done, after you made a toxic tailings pond and destroyed the earth around it and poisoned everything. You're like, and now the buffalo are back and they're free to roam on this old.
They're better than ever.
Better than ever.
So many eyes now.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're and you'd see them and you'd be like, those sad ass buffalo.
And people think and care about the animals, but not necessarily, like you say, the humans.
That's right. Well,
these
people always ask why the name Ducks. And did your watch just beep? Okay, then does that mean we're almost out of time?
Oh, no, I like to check.
Oh, right, okay. So Ducks, in 2008, I think 1,200 ducks or something flew into a tailings pond in Syncrude. And tailings ponds are like the leftover wastewater from a refining process. So they are deadly, and people have died in them. But these ducks were blown off course of a migratory route, and they landed there because they thought it was safe, and they all died. And animals died in those things all the time, but because there were so many, everybody was like, "Oh my God, the ducks! That's so sad," and blah blah. And it was, the book is like 450 pages long. If I could put everything that I wanted to put in there, I would. But anyway, at the same time, like they were like the people of Fort Chipewyan, which is an indigenous community downriver, were finding fish in the water that had like lesions on them, cancerous lesions, and they were like, "Look at this," and people were like, "Are you sure that's not real? Oh, gross fish. Who cares?"
AI fish.
Yeah. Just like they didn't care so much about. They were like, the berries are drying up, and like the trees are sick and everything, and people were like, "I don't care about that." But the ducks died, and everyone was just like, "Oh my God. That is so bad." And the company had to come out and be like, "We're so sorry this happened. This will never happen again." Blah blah blah. This whole song and dance, and like people were dying of cancer, and they won't admit that they have anything to do with it, even though there are very rare and specific forms of cancer that are obviously linked to the oil activity. And how would you feel if you were somebody who, living, there and had cancer or lost some people to cancer, and then everybody was really upset about ducks after like years of everything else dying. There was a bit of disingenuousness about it all that was kind of gross. And yet when I left, if I left after 2008, and I'd tell people this is where I worked, they would go, "Oh, is that place where all the ducks died?" That's how they knew it. And that's like what they knew about Fort McMurray. And like, you saw people's lives being ruined out there. Mental health was like through the floor. There's just no understanding of like larger issues at all. I remember when the economy fell after 2008, and there were massive layoffs, and there was a massive number of, like, an uptick of suicides in Alberta because people who had made all this money or whatever, and then they lost their jobs, and that was everything that defined them, and they were like, "Who am I now?" And they, like, how bad is the mental health crisis for that to happen? This is a great talk.
Well, we're gonna be so uplifted after this.
Anyway, I don't even remember what your question was. I'm
like,
just ranting now.
to touch base on something I found very profound about your book is there's the sentiment that I think pervades working class and immigrant families that education is the great equalizer. And your book grapples with that in an interesting way. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Me and my sisters are the first in our family, like generation-wise, to go to university. Us and our cousins, I guess, and I know there are a lot of people out there like that. So you know what it's like when your parents who didn't go to university are like, "That's what gets you the job," and then you will have we want you to have a better life than we did, and you got to have the education. And student loan programs in Canada started in maybe in the 1960s. They weren't available to my parents, really, because they weren't at that point yet, but they were available to us, and that is how I was able to get an education at all. I maxed out both the federal and provincial student loan programs to get my Bachelor of the Arts, which people came knocking at my door right away. They were like, "I have a job for you." Did you say double major in history and anthropology? Well, you didn't know that you're 17 when you pick a thing. And my parents were so anxious, afterwards. They were like, "What's going to happen now?" And I was like, "Well, you can't get a job in what I am." They're like, "What?" I was like, "Not a good one." I really wanted to pay off these loans because I remember being in grade 10 or something, and our physics teacher came in, and he was like, "Boys and girls, I paid off my student loan today." And we were like, "What? You're so old. You have like 5 kids." He's like 40-something probably. Anyway, but he laid it all out for us, how long it took for him to pay it off, how much interest he paid, because this is like not math, but he was also our calculus teacher. So anyway, and he was like, and this is how much I paid total for my like whatever this degree, and we were just like, our jaws were all on the floor, and we were all like dying over how much money it ended up being, and I didn't want to be that. I couldn't. Like, if I couldn't, I wanted to do something with art. I thought I was going to go back and get a master's and maybe work in a museum or something like that. And then I worked in a museum, and there are no jobs in museums, and none of them pay well. So, I'm sorry, we're right next to Billy Island, and there's like a few good jobs, and people keep them until they're skeletons in their chairs, and then
they become the museum.
Yeah, and then they come and exhibit there, and then someone new can come in. But generally, it's a difficult job market. And cartooning came to me sort of on the like fly, sort of accidentally. It happened, and I've been so grateful that it worked out. Definitely, my parents were like, "Phew, cartooning, that
the
now
safe
you're
choice."
Fine." I knew that if I didn't pay off my loan, that I would take a safe route. I would get a job that would guarantee loan payments and house, apartment and everything like that. I wouldn't. This is about class. I had this whole talk about class. But if you're working class, if you come from a poor background, you often can't make the choice to go into the arts because there is no guaranteed money at all, not even a little bit. And so you have far more people who are artists who come from a background of generational wealth and privilege than you do people who are working class or poor in associated backgrounds that are those sort of majorities. And so these are the people who end up creating what we understand as our shared culture. They write the stories that we read and the TV shows that we watch. And we need to have people who are from working class and poor backgrounds telling stories, because if you don't, the people who will fill in that spot are from the middle class or higher, and they will just write what they think your life is like. And yeah.
Like the power of representation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I didn't know, I wasn't thinking about really any of that stuff at that time. I was like, working class people really need to get in the arts. I was just like, I want to get in the arts. And I don't want to pay any more. Like, I couldn't have it. And everybody was working. It was like an entire, like truckloads of people, like the Rapture or something. People were just disappearing from our hometown and everywhere in Cape Breton to work in Alberta. It was the most natural thing in the world to go on a plane and get there and look for a job. You don't have a job when you get there, you just look for one, and somehow it will work out. And like, it doesn't for everybody, but that was the nature of the times. Like, when I was in grade 12, there were 23 people in my class, and I think there were 7 in grade primary. So like, the population was just, and we weren't told to stay or to like look for like a good job at home. They were like, there's the door, get the fuck out of here. Like, go and to where there's work.
There's, I'm asking this as a wrap-up question because the audience has been seeing some slides that don't look like ducks behind us from time to time. And so I'd like to give you the chance to tell people what you have coming up next before we throw it out for one or two questions to the audience.
All right. I have a picture book called Shark Girl, which in a nutshell is sort of a Little Mermaid kind of story. But you know when the mermaid looks at the prince and she's like, I love him. She gets caught in a net. It's kind of like bycatch. And she's a shark. So she sees the fishing captain. And she's like, I fucking hate him. And I'm going to kill him. And kids are going to love it. It's sort of I had fun with it because it's a fun character. I loved mermaids when I was 5, and my daughter is 5 and she loves mermaids. And mermaids. And I was like, well, it's kind of fun to have a character who's also like part shark, because that gives her this edge. Even though we all know mermaids have an edge, they do kill dudes, but like that's not the story we can tell either. Sirens.
Sequel.
Anyway, so I bugged my cousin, who is a marine biologist who studies sharks at Dalhousie, and he went to like a shark conference in Switzerland this year, which sounds amazing. Just all the shark nerds in tuxedos in Switzerland. But I was like, what do sharks do with this and this and this? And he's like, whoa, boo, 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 boo. So that's what he sounds like. And it was great fun doing the research for it and writing it. And it is also a book about having like justified anger even as a child, because a lot of kids' books will have like, I had a bad day, and the bad feeling will be like a weird cloud that's following them around or something like that. And or like it'll be like this blobby entity thing who's like sadness or whatever, and you're just like, no, our feelings are a part of us. They're inside us, and they're there to answer something that we feel, and our feelings are valid. Like if you are a child and you're angry about something, it's because you are, and it's natural, and it's a signal that something is wrong. And so I think that when you value your feelings, you value yourself, and that's part of the book too.
Amazing. Kate, thank you so much for being here today and talking to us. We're going to open it up to 1 or 2 short questions, and then we'll wrap it. So just raise your hand, and David, who's along the side, will reach to you. We'll reach out to you. Oh, there's a question down in front. Oh, and in the back. Okay.
Thanks, Kate. So a line from the reading kind of reminded me of this question. The line about how you'll understand Jodi's predicament when you're a parent. You talked a little bit about how looking back on these memories now has colored the way that you filter it. Has your experience as a parent changed the way that you think about these memories or some of the experiences that you had?
Yeah. Actually, I wrote the book, like I wrote it all as a gigantic script before I had any children, and now I do. And so I do understand Jodi's perspective. She was, Fort McMurray was also the divorce capital of Canada. That's a statistic at that time. And especially because a lot of people like flew in and flew out. And that is so hard on a family. And so I understand, definitely. There was a cycle, okay? So you have a man, usually, sometimes a woman though, working like 28-day cycles where it was like 21 days off, 21 days on site and 7 days off, and then back. And at home, she's got the kids. And so all through his 21 days, he's like, I can't wait to get home. And then he gets home, and they're all so happy to see him. They're like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And everything's happy, and nobody wants to bring up any of the bad things because finally Daddy's home for the first few days, whatever. And then she's like, I need a rest. I've been parenting nonstop for 3 weeks. And he's like, it's my vacation. I need a rest. I've been working for 21 days. So there's friction there. And then by the end, that's when you have to bring up like the things that maybe you were going to fight about, like money stuff or house stuff or kid stuff. And he's like, why are you bothering me with this? I got to go back to work. Like, why are we doing this right now? And that's when they might blow up at each other. And then he's like, I'm gone. And he's back. He's gone again. And the kids go insane. They're like, all the teachers are like, we know the oil sands kids because like they will act out, and they will, or like when he's home, they're so excited they can't pay attention. And when he's gone, they're sullen and they're like act out and things that you can see how hard it is on a family and why there would be so many divorces. And now that I am a parent, I'm so grateful not to be in that situation, because a lot of people went into it because it felt like that was their only choice. And I have such sympathy for that. It's happened to relatives of mine. I have the exact same scenario, and the families broke up. It's brutal.
It's difficult. We'll take one more question. I don't know.
In the back had his hand raised too.
Okay, perfect. I can't quite see from the lights.
I'm sorry I'm so long-winded about everything.
How is it like transitioning between doing adult literature and children's picture books? Did you have to go to any portfolio process, or they just hire you off the spot?
Yeah, I thought that I had this picture or this deal with Ducks and a picture book deal at the same time, and I was like, this is great. When I like get emotionally exhausted from this one, I can toggle back to this other one and have a break. But it turns out it wasn't that easy, and then I made this after, and and they were like, where's that picture book? And I was like, I don't know. I working on a 450-page novel. But it was something that I thought I could do. But it is definitely difficult to go back and forth between those headspaces because they're totally different. At the same time, I'm glad that I do both things, that I do picture books and graphic novels, and I have different audiences in mind, because I think that all of us contain multitudes. Like if you're an artist and you want to tell stories, I mean, Roald Dahl did it, his children's books, and he was also very well known for his adult books and his anti-Semitism, but you know what I mean. You can do it all. Please don't do the last one. No, I just think that it's a privilege to be able to do any of this work at all, and it's not always easy to compartmentalize like the work that you're doing. But this is probably going to be the heaviest book that I ever really do. So I don't
Never
know.
say never, Kate.
Never say never. Wait till my next depressing book comes out.
There's apparently a lot you left out of Duck.
You'll be so sad after you read my next book. You won't come out of your room for days.
Well, I'll tell you about a few more exciting things that are happening tonight from 5 to 7 at the Billy Ireland. There's the opening reception. Please come. There's great comics. There's the Nancy exhibition. We'll be there. Please be there too. And also tomorrow, Kate is signing from 11:30 to 1.
11:30 to 1.
At the library, at the main library. And that will be on the main floor, I believe. So come, bring your books, say hello.
you.
We'd love to see you again, and have a wonderful rest of your festival. Thank you, Kate Beaton.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, the Wex. Thank you, CXC. Thank you, everyone.